I'm going to review here some common R problems, issues you can run into, whether it's because of a typo or a copy and paste error or just R does something weird. I want to show things that can happen and how do you deal with them. So one of the most basic problems that you can run into in R is remembering to get lowercase things as lowercase and uppercase things as uppercase. In general, I always recommend to always use lowercase letters unless it has to be, for some other reason, it has to be uppercase. So most R functions are lowercase. There are exceptions to that, but in general, R functions are lowercase, and I recommend when you make an R object or do anything in R, whether it's the name of a column, the name of an object, to make it lowercase. So for example, there is the iris data set that we use sometimes. It's popping up there. It is spelled I-R-I-S, all lowercase, and if I use iris uppercase, if I make the first I uppercase, it gives me an error. It says object iris not found because iris with an uppercase I doesn't exist. So say I do summary iris, I get data readout summarizing information on iris, but if I use an uppercase S-U-M-M-A-R-Y iris, it doesn't work. R doesn't recognize summary with a capital S. So another common problem is that code gets hung up, as I call it. You enter code and it doesn't seem to want to run. So as an example here, let me go to my R pubs and go to my plot2means function that I use all the time. And let me copy and paste it, but I'm going to intentionally make an error. So I'm going to go here, I want to take this function and add it to R, so I'm going to click right in front of it and then copy all of it, but I'm going to intentionally miss part of it. So I'm going to copy that, go back to RStudio, and paste it in, and then press enter. And you'll notice here, it looks, something happens, but if I continue to do stuff, like let's say I went over to iris again, and for some reason I want to do summary command on iris, R will continue to still do things, or I double click on iris, and I can still type in more commands, but nothing is actually going on. And what you can see here is that there's this plus symbol here, and a plus symbol means that R is waiting for something else to happen, and I call this hung code. It's code that is in process, and there's been a mistake or something hasn't been completed. In this case, when I cut and paste my plot2means command, I missed a bracket, and so R was waiting for that bracket, and until that bracket appears, R is going to continue accepting more code. And I can screw the whole process up by, instead of adding the bracket, I can add other code that's unrelated, and then R gets totally confused. So when stuff doesn't seem to be happening, look in your console, look for these plus symbols, and the way to get out of that is just click into your console and press escape, and then R will back out of it. So let me do that again. I'm going to intentionally, there's a bracket right here at the end of the function, but I'm going to intentionally still miss it. And then I'm going to copy and paste that code again. And R is starting to load all that code. But I see these plus symbols. Because I am aware of this problem, I can say, aha, I probably missed that bracket. So I can add that bracket. And then R does finish the function. And the function will actually work now. But again, if you see these, if you add code, if you're trying to run it, you see this plus symbol, just press escape and it will back out of it. So another major issue, similar to missing brackets, is missing parentheses. So if I'm using the summary command and I forget the parentheses, I end up getting that plus symbol. If I can see that that's a problem, I add that parentheses, it'll finish the command. That's an obvious one, but when you start getting more complicated cases, you have to stop and look and make sure you haven't missed a parentheses, or also a comma is a similar problem. Another issue to be aware of is that the C command is often used. It's just a lowercase c, and then things go inside of it. There's also an uppercase C command, unfortunately. And you would never use that uppercase C in this class. You only use that lowercase c, so don't get them confused. One final issue is if R crashes or you quit R, you have to reload any code that you've loaded in, whether it's your data set or it's the plot2means function. So say R crashes on me. I'm going to close it here, but pretend that it just crashed on me. So I can go back over, open up RStudio, and RStudio is pretty good at saving your work as you go. I didn't save my file, but okay, it didn't bring up as much as I thought it would. Oh, yeah, here it is. So here's the code that I typed out, the summary stuff. It's all there. But say I want to use that plot2means function. It'll tell me error, plot2means not found. It doesn't know what I'm talking about. That's because that I had loaded in that code by hand, and when the computer crashed or I closed R, it lost that from memory. So I have to go back and go and copy and paste that code again for this plot2means. And then it will be in memory